All right. Welcome, everyone, to the Serious Angler podcast, where, as always, our main course for you will be talking and hopefully teaching you more about bass fishing. That, of course, does not come without a distraction or 10 here or there. Whether you're here to learn or just here for some bass and banter, which we got a lot of on today's episode, you guys are in the right spot. As always, I'm your host, Bailey Egbert, and joined with me is the Bassin captain, Mr. Andy Full, and we are Idaho-less on today's show. No, Mr. Deacon, unfortunately, yet again, busy time. And this just might be a constant. As you guys know, if you are a serious angler OG, that this time of year, that May to especially August, things get a little hectic around the fishing world, especially the bass fishing
Definitely
world.
tough.
Yeah.
Definitely tough. Like it feels like with all of the tournament circuits, right? It feels like almost every week there's two right now because you have
Yeah.
BPT, Bass, and then Tech Warehouse Pro Circuit, right? And then MPFL. It's just like whoo. And then opens on top of it too, the
And then the
EQs.
West Coast, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh my God. We had a few folks that were in our DM, very polite, and like they totally meant no ill will whatsoever on it. But they're like, hey, why didn't you guys cover this event? So I'm like, man, if I could cover every event, I would try, but
Yeah.
it's literally impossible to keep up with it all.
Is it the one Bass on Havasu?
No,
Probably.
we helped cover a little bit of on that, like on a story, but someone's like, "Oh, that the tackle warehouse," and I'm like, to be honest, I didn't even know it was happening. To be quite frank,
Yeah.
I'm like, half the time I forget that we even have fantasy fishing, going on. I mean, there's 2 weeks this year already. I'm like, oh shit, it's Monday, and thank God Andy's like, hey, do we have fantasy fishing tonight? I'm like, ouch. Like, I was like, that's what I'm forgetting. And it's so hard to keep up with all the different trails. So we're doing our best. I promise. We're a small team, but I wouldn't really call us mighty. We're just a bunch of dummies that love fishing.
Just
But
a bunch of fishermen, and it's
yeah,
about to get worse for us because I started fishing this week as we're recording this, so pretty
yeah,
pretty excited about that.
yeah. So with that being said, guys, you might get episodes where it's like, we're planning for the week the next couple weeks. We might rip some episodes where like the business from the bass boats, they're gonna be like, guys, this is kind of old news, but we're doing our best to get the shows out when we can, because obviously Andy's got a full-time guide life with kids. Deacon's got his work that's keeping him on the road, fishing the BAM tour. I'm doing my own thing as well on the side. And it's like, we're doing our best, but we promise we're going to get you guys at least one episode out a week. That is always the goal. And unfortunately, no real biology episode this week because old Barden's on vacay. That jerk. How dare he not work for a single day of his life? But he's enjoying a beach vacation right now,
Good
tropical
for
beach
him.
vacation.
Everyone needs one once in a while.
I wonder if he can
Nice
turn
part.
off his biologist brain. Like when he's down there in the tropical stuff, I wonder if he's like thinking about things. You know what I mean?
100%.
Wonder if I brought these you spotted, whatever the hell is in that ocean up there. He's like, wonder if I fed this to a pond. What would happen?
Yeah, probably something along those lines,
Something
right?
along yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
love it.
But couple cool things obviously going on this past week. Lake Fork event wrapped up. And it sounded like Tucker and Paul landed up. I think maybe one more landed it in the top 10 all time weights for Bassmaster. But last I saw in tuning into live coverage, Tucker Smith was sixth, I think, in all time weights with 127 or whatever it was he finished up with. But congrats to Tucker Smith on the dub over there on the Elite Series. And that's an interesting event. And then we were spinning right back around as you guys are listening to this episode. If it's dropping on a Wednesday, you're listening on a Wednesday. Sabine River starting this week. And obviously, many, as we just said, many trails are ramped up, rocking and rolling. And we're doing our best to try to cover as much as we can.
Crazy stat for our listeners here. The average weight to win at the Sabine is 1/3 of what it took to win Fork.
Almost average. A day. Almost a day's worth of Fork. You could top 10 Fork with 1 day's weight, or top 10 Sabine with 1 day's weight at Fork.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, with Trey McKinney's last day weight, you can almost win the dang thing.
Yeah, 100%. I think the last time they were at the Sabine, it was 44 pounds for 4 days.
Yeah, and Trey was 6 pounds off of that on the last day.
Yeah, it's just
unbelievable that they're within the same state, and there's that. Yeah. But regardless, it was a cool one to watch. A lot of stuff going on. Old Seth Fighter back in the top 10 doing some swim jigging. That was always fun to watch old Seth on live. But was a good event to watch, and was a good event, or I guess a good week last week. Old Rudd, who is our guest for today's show. I don't know why we just didn't do this in person last week. We were too busy catching big ones. He came up to old New York, and we put him on some of the why people enjoy fishing New York, or I shouldn't even say New York. I should say the North in the spring. The
Yeah.
North in general, you could go wherever you want in the North and have a great time in April and May. Um,
Well, there's a few lakes that it might suck, but
but
these
yeah,
are
anywhere in
not
Ohio will
right.
suck.
Yeah.
Sorry to my Ohio
PA,
folk. You guys know.
some Pennsylvania, New Jersey probably is another one that wouldn't be that great. But yeah, you
Yeah,
start
I mean there
Vermont,
was.
New Hampshire, Maine, Connecticut, some big fish in those ponds over there.
Oh yeah, the Northeast is relatively good. Unfortunately for our Minnesotan friends, they don't know what we're talking about right now because they can't do anything bass wise. But either way, it was a great week, and we're going to talk all about it because when we're talking about all these tournament trails, there's many times where I'll be just quite blunt and transparent with people. Where there's times I just kind of want to put tournaments off the side and just get back to just talking about bass fishing. You know what I mean? Like the roots of everything, why we got into it. Because take tournaments and you throw those away and say we can never fish a tournament again in our lives. Doesn't bother me. I mean, I enjoy them. Don't get me wrong. I love tournaments.
No, I
I'd
think
much
I'm
rather
pretty
go
good
fun
with it
fishing
too.
9 times out of 10. Say what?
100%. I'm good with that. I'm only signed up for one tournament right now this year, so
Is that
it's
the one
like
we're fishing in July?
no, that's two. I forgot about that one.
All I have is a calendar that says Andy Derb.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and circle back and check my
I don't know
calendar.
which one it is, but it just says Andy. We could be fishing a 1v1. I don't know.
It could be kayak kayak derb. You've been
We
begging
will
me
have
for
some of
like
that
3
content
years.
hopefully
Yes,
coming this year, as
yes.
long as Andy's boat doesn't croak.
No, we got a new motor. That thing should be indestructible, right?
Hey,
Like
you better knock on wood, brother.
the way the year's going, I wouldn't be surprised.
If
So
you're booking a guide trip with Andy up to Lake Erie, there is a 50-50 chance that he will be in my Hobie, and you have to share that Hobie with him out on Lake Erie. But he's going to do his best to get the boat going.
yeah, no, boat's running great. We got to fix a few other things on it now. But I mean, when you have 2,000 hours on an Alltrex, probably time to replace it and need to do some upgrading in the graphs or just buy a new boat. And that's where I'm at. It's a rock and a hard place on what I want to do. So trade her in, buy a new
Yeah,
one, or update everything and keep it another 2 or 3 years. So the motor's brand new, so that helps.
there you go. One step in the right direction.
Yes. 1 foot in the door, 1 foot out.
Something like that. But folks, we have a fun episode planned. Andy, kind of give the folks a little bit of a preview, I guess, if we kind of dove in a little bit, but
Yeah.
what
Well,
what
I
is to
mean,
come on today's episode?
and the little preview is we have Rudd joining us, which is a frequent flyer on the Serious Angler Network on all channels right here. But getting some rabbit holes, we dive deep into a few things, kind of thoughts and theories on other things. And yeah, and you kind of preluded it a little bit, the talk between tournament fishing and not tournament fishing. And honestly, the best part of it was probably talking about getting back to the roots, river fishing, having
River
fun,
fishing,
tons of
bank
laughing,
fishing.
just catching them bank off the bank. Like, doesn't matter how you fish, just
Mm-hmm.
enjoy it.
Because at the end of the day, and this is what I think we said it probably 3,000 million times in this episode, but fishing's fun. Fishing has
Yeah.
always been fun. Fishing started out as fun. Fishing did not start out as tournaments for us. And if tournaments is the only focal point of your fishing, you might need to do a little soul searching. But um, fishing has always been fun, regardless of how you fish. And if you're out there and you're fishing, and you're not sitting on your couch being a waste, then you're doing things right. Doesn't matter how you choose to fish, what you fish for, or if
And
whether
you
you're
could do
catching or not.
both. You could have fun fishing and be a waste on your couch, but you're probably not having fun while you're wasting on your couch. So go fishing.
Unless you have a couch on your boat, then it's different.
Or I
I've
have
seen
you
such a
running the
thing.
trolling motor so I can fall asleep behind the driver's seat.
See, it's still better than sitting on your couch.
Amen.
It's still
Catching
better than sitting on your
catching
couch.
a nap. I'm all in on that
Catching
one.
that nap, baby.
Dude, I was on a crazy bender. All right. I was fishing like every
You
day for
were.
like 2
You
months
were.
before we went out for
I
the
didn't
NBA
blame
game.
you, man. I was like, kick back, bro. We got this.
So have fun. I'm going
That's
to sleep.
right. I'm going to sleep. I don't blame you at all. It's comfy. I could nap on a boat all damn day.
Oh, it just gets
But
so warm. It's
yeah. Yeah.
like
But real quick for the folks that are tuning in before we get into today's episode, a couple things for you guys is the business from the bass boat of this episode, which is always brought to you by our friends over at Rec Lending. If you guys currently own or are looking, as Andy's talking about, potentially even getting into a new boat, make sure you guys are giving the folks at Rec Lending a call because they'll make the process easy, affordable, and the best situation that you could ask for in getting a boat, and or it even applies to RVs. So if
yeah.
you're getting in those toys, at least give them a call. They'll at least, they'll discuss with you, talk with you. They'll help you out before you even sign up or send them any money or anything along those lines. Rec Lending they're the folks to go through. So give them a ring. And we're gonna keep this nice, short, and quick. And the fact that is there is no industry buzz as of right now, at least that we can find this past week, because literally no one's doing anything. I think it's a time where it's a hurry up and wait situation more than usual in the fishing industry, where it's people are kind of waiting for just to see things out. What is going to happen with
And it's
whether it's
also like
tariffs.
what, 2 months out from ICAST, so I feel like it's usually pretty quiet leading up to that, and then after ICAST, it kinda goes chaotic again until, what, middle of September?
Yeah, I'm sure we're gonna have a lot of buzz come July time with whether it's new things that are released, but also, hey, so and so brand pull out of ICAST. They're not doing ICAST anymore, and it's because of this, new launch structure, whatever it may be. We're gonna have some of that stuff, that little insights for you guys coming forward. But right now, there's nothing this week. The industry is a little quiet, and I think for good reason. So if there isn't, business, we're not gonna waste your time in saying that they're, trying to make up anything or stretch to find anything. We're just gonna be like, hey, it's a quiet week. There is no buzz. But what we will tell you before we get into our episode here with Mr. Alex Rudd is that Omnia Fishing right now has a couple opportunities for you guys to save more than usual, more than just using our discount code Series 10. And that is right now 20% off site wide with code May20. That is MAY 20. You can go save 20% off. Again, I say
Good deal.
site wide. So go take advantage of all of that, as well as right now save up to $500 on select Minn Kota products, Andy, uh, until 6/18. So that is June 18th. So if you guys are looking to get a new trolling motor, things like that, check out that link. We'll have that link down below. And lastly, what I'll be intrigued to see as you start, pulling the boat a little bit more, getting to more guide sessions, Andy, is this is your first year running the Road Active suspension kit. And I'd be intrigued to see how much better that has made your towing, because Deacon loves it. And we've heard from several folks that have ordered it and found out about Road Active through us, that it's made towing a breeze, if not made the experience anyway a lot easier.
Yeah, so far, I mean, I've only pulled my boat 1 time since I've had it installed, and, it definitely like going over railroad tracks and hitting like bumps. So you try to avoid bumps, but like going over railroad tracks and etc. There's definitely a difference. So I'm excited to see.
Less like
mo-
flux in the
Yeah,
rear.
exactly. It's way more stable. So I'll be excited to see how that continues to be going forward and everything else. So it's actually squatted down now. It was a lot easier hooking my boat up this time. I don't know if that's just because I actually lined it up properly for once, or it actually like stabilized my rear of my truck so it doesn't fall as fast when I'm hooking the boat up. So yeah.
Heck yeah, dude. That's awesome. Well, folks, if you're looking to get one or interested and want to check it out, we have a link down below to Road Active Suspension. And one, if you're actually going to get it, we have a discount code for you down there as well. So make sure you guys check that out. But Andy, I think without further ado, let's get on Mr. Alex Rudd. All right, folks. And we are with someone here who is no stranger to the Serious Angler Podcast Network. I think as a whole, I think he's been on every single show across the Serious Angler Podcast Network. And it is Mr. Alex Rudd, our bearded friend. Alex, a long time no see, homie.
I know, right? It's been like 2 days, 3 days, 3 days. No, yeah, I can't believe that I can hold the title of being on every Serious Angler Network podcast. That's
Yeah.
makes me realize how much of my time I've actually wasted helping you guys make podcasts. So that's
I was going to say that's either a good thing or a bad thing, and I'm sure it's
yeah,
the later, right?
yeah, it's always the latter with y'all. It's anytime that Bailey can catch a stray in any piece of content that I make sure that Bailey catches a stray in any content that I make. But no, yeah, no, I'm glad to be here. It's going to be fun, especially talking about creek fishing because I love creek fishing and I love it's funny. It's funny how far I swung the pendulum like all the way to like the most extreme level of fishing that you can go, and now I'm swinging it like almost all the way back to the simplest form of fishing that you can go. Like I really love it. So it's going to be fun to talk about it.
Yeah, man. Like the creek fishing, the bank fishing, like the simple, just basics, like simplifying things. And I was like, thinking about it, because we've been having some like not really technology shows lately with river power fishing, just power fishing in general, flipping and stuff with Fletcher. And it's like, let's just have a basic show. Let's just wrap it all up, put a bow on it on that. I'm like, who would be good? I'm like, who am I kidding? He's sitting at my house. Like, it's just the guy we should have on for that. Because talk about basics, it's like we said every day last week. You're like, what do I need for tomorrow? I'm like, I don't know, jig, spinnerbait, call shad. And then next day, it's like, what do I need for tomorrow? I don't know. I think a jig, a spinnerbait, a call shad. You're like, all right, so the basics.
Yeah. And then I spent the whole week with 2 rods, well, 3 rods in my hand, and every one of them were 7.6 heavy with 20-pound test on them. I mean, bro, it's perfect. I love it. Like I love simplicity. I tell people all the time, like as much as I love to think about fishing and as complicated as I do get sometimes with like certain gear and all that stuff, the simplicity and the rudimentary like way that I look at fishing, I think is different than most people. Like I think we overthink it way too much. I think there's times to overthink it, but then sometimes I think you just gotta go out there and go fishing. Like just go fishing and use what you got and go catch fish because you'd be amazed what happens.
Yeah, it obviously depends, like per fishery. Like we're comparing, like when we're talking about what we did last week, we're talking about northern fisheries that don't get as much pressure. The fish get a break, are relatively stupid compared to like some places like Chickamauga where they see 33,000 baits per hour there. Yeah. Where I'm actually curious your guys' thoughts on this. Andy, I wanted to pitch this over to you too as well because I know you go down the JDM rabbit hole and things like that. But the do you think it's more of these JDM baits work because there's something significant about those from a finesse level, or do you think it's the fact that that fish likely has never seen that bait before and it being new and they don't know that it's a bait, that is why they eat it?
I think it's
What theory do you have?
I don't think, because there's some good JDM baits, right? And then there's some that just don't work at all. So I think it's more of the latter than it is overall that they're all good. But I mean, when you find a good one, hold on to it, and don't tell the world about it, because when you find one that works, it usually works everywhere. So that's
I want to know who was the first one to the Sakamata shad and then how long they held on to that.
I mean, that's been out for a while, probably like 6-7 years.
Yeah, I remember seeing those like I watch a lot of Japanese videos, like completely in Japanese, just to see what they're fishing with over there. I'll tell you one thing that I think it's really interesting that the Japanese do. So, like when you look at a lot of Japanese like made lures, and when I say a lot, I think more over like specifically like soft plastics, because like like a lot of their soft plastics, like there's a new worm style over there, and they're like that freaking long. They're literally like 2.5, 3 foot long, and they're just these thin, like wiry worm. It's like a tapeworm, exactly, and they're Nico rigging them. Well, as I often refer to this book because this book changed my perception of bass fishing, Knowing Bass by Dr. Keith Jones. In that book, and I actually talked about this in a video I did on bass fishing tips, which if you've not subscribed to the new Alex Red Fishing channel, over to YouTube and check it out.
It's a commercial here.
Yeah, here's a shameless plug. We did just hit 7,000 subscribers, so that's pretty cool. So thank you. There it is. But I talked about it when I did a video about like, fishing a wacky rig. In the book, it talks about how they did an experiment with bass, and because of the way that a bass's eye is structured, that it sees things on a vertical and horizontal plane the best, and that anything that stretches across its like field of view that has one dimension that is longer than the other 2 dimensions, i.e., like a stick bait is 5 inches long, and that's the longest dimension of all the dimensions that it has. It's what a bass can see the best, And then that's what a bass's brain is actually wired to eat, because that's what bait fish look like. And so I think what the Japanese have done a really good job of, and I don't even think they're doing it intentionally. I think it's just from experimenting as much as they do, because their fish do get so much pressure. And they, again, what we're going to talk about today, I mean, really, if you look at Japanese fishing, it's bank fishing, it's canal fishing, it's like beating the banks, and like it's really optimizing the area that they have.
Mm-hmm.
I think what they've done unintentionally is they've made a lot of lures that do a really good job of exactly what I just said, of hitting that exact sense that a bass needs to hit to get them to eat. Because you think about it, it's like the greatest jerk bait of all time, a Vision 110. Well, it's a lot of had to do with how the jerk bait is made, but it also has a lot to do with just a jerk bait being the bait that it is, does a perfect job of falling into that category of a bait that is longer in one dimension or bigger in one dimension than the other two, and then moves horizontally across their field of view. Okay, so they perfected the jerk bait. Same thing with the glide bait. Same thing with these big worms that they've got coming out. Now, these new like dice baits and all those things, I'm not really sure where that falls in categorically with that, but still, there's something in that way that bait looks, that the fish perceives it as something that is edible. And that's another thing that the book talks about. I think is really fascinating, is that when we say that a bait does a really good job of mimicking something, that's like a mute point with a bass, because a bass doesn't know that a bait mimics anything. That's not what their brain can't comprehend that. But he said, moreover, what you want to do is not match the hatch, but match expectation. So if a bass expects something to be food, it'll eat it. And so it doesn't matter what shape it is, what size it is, what, sound it makes, as long as it smells right, looks right, and falls in the perception of what a bass what it should be food, then the bass will try to eat it. And that's what I think the Japanese have done really well, is they just go out, and because I was watching some videos of like some bait makers, and dude, they go out and they will test 50 freaking variations of one thing until they find, of those 50 variations, which one works the best. It's similar to what Berkeley does. I mean, you know this, Bailey, what they do out at Spirit Lake. I mean, I don't forgot how many variations there was of the slobber knocker until they perfected it. They just show the bass a bunch of things until they get it right. And then when they get that one thing right, that Japanese culture, that whatever, it's that Kaizen or whatever culture, I think is the word. It's like that is perfection, and then that's what they put out into the marketplace to be consumed, and it works.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think that's why Japanese baits are good. I think that's why Berkeley baits are good. And I don't just say that because I work with Berkeley, but I really say that because there's something to the fact of dialing and dialing and dialing until you dial in perfection. And when you've got perfection, or as close to perfection as you can get dialed in, then you've got something worth having. Where a lot of these companies, they just, I mean, hell, I think we need to slap some damn legs on that thing, damn CNC that shit, and put it out there and see what happens. And that's what they do. And yeah, I mean, hell, it catches some fish, but it's not perfect. It's just a thing that looks like something else. You know what I mean? That, I don't know. That was a long.
Yeah, that was a line I've heard over at the Berkeley lab over there. Was a lot of brands go out and they put out baits, they throw it in a pool, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, that looks pretty good. Let's put that out." Whereas they're like, "Okay, it might look good to us, but let's put some science behind it."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at least, and whether we're saying it's science or not, because I know some people like to mock that. They really actually do utilize a shit pile of data for what they create, but
they have
they
more.
at least have some sort of backing for why they do something.
Yeah, and they have more data points at Berkeley Labs than every single university level program that studies black bass. Like, dude, it's crazy. It's crazy.
That's saying
But
something.
all that being said, I think in the finesse world, like, I think finesse fishing, especially JDM finesse fishing, I think a lot of it has to do with it. They've hit something either knowingly or unknowingly with how bass perceive food, and they're doing a really good job of getting bass to eat things because that's what a bass perceives as food.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think that comes down to like when you're trying to keep things simple, because I think right now, especially when you're looking at social media, you're looking at these different, YouTube pages that do such a great job, of whether it's bass fishing tips or it's the lure lab or it's tactical bass, and you see there's so many options out there. It is easy, especially for somebody that's brand new to this sport, to become overwhelmed,
Oh, yeah.
with there's so many things. They go on Omnia Fishing or Tackle Warehouse or one of these, their local tackle shop for that matter, and they see this just a ginormous selection. Let alone we'll talk even about costs that it entails to come to some of these, but just the options that they have. I think you can go, it's a lane that you can choose to go down as deep as you'd like, but you don't need to go all the way to the end of the hallway. You can stop and be very well suited wherever you'd like to be. You can go throw a jig and a spinnerbait in just about every single fishery in this entire country and catch fish. So it's, I guess, with that question, for somebody that is, maybe they got into fishing within the recent year, and they're kind of they're in that situation, Alex, where they're kind of getting overwhelmed. They see so much out there. Oh, do I need to be buying these $25 baits, things like that? What would be your advice to somebody like that? And I guess top 3 things to keep things simple and catch bass, regardless of where they're at this country.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't think. I mean, like, yeah, I get it. Like, especially. So let me back up a little bit and say I understand the overwhelming feeling of walking into a tackle store now, because I walked into a what's the trout store called? Orvis. I walked into an Orvis store one day, and dude, it is like walking into a completely different world. Like, it is shit that we don't understand. It's stuff that, like, they're like, what weight rod are you throwing? What weight reel are you throwing? What's this? What's your tippet? What's this? And I'm like,
Speak for yourself.
why now? And like, so I got that overwhelming feeling of like not knowing what to throw or what to even, like, what certain things meant. Like, they throw so many like lingos and jargons at me, and I didn't know what it was. And so I think the biggest thing, like, when you walk into a tackle store, is just understand that at a base level, a bass is a really simplistic creature. They're not smart. They don't think. They do not
like us.
comprehend. Yeah, they're just like me. They don't think. They don't comprehend. They don't have complex thought processes like we do. And so a lot of when we look at bass fishing, I think we look at it and we try to anthropomorphize the bass. We put our thoughts into its head. Well, guess what? It doesn't have the thoughts that we have. It's an animal that's driven completely on instinct. So I think that's the first thing to realize. I think the second thing to realize is that at a core level too, bass fishing is really simplistic. There's 2 ways to do it: with live bait and with artificial bait. The funnest and easiest way to do it. So if you really want to keep it super simple, just go do that. Honestly, go have
get you
fun.
some shiners.
Go get you some shine. Just go have fun. Have fun. That's the biggest piece of advice that I can give you is have fun. Seriously. Don't go into it going, I have to please somebody. I have to please somebody on the internet. I have to buy what Matt and Tim say to buy. I have to buy what Alex says to buy. No. Like, don't go out and try to please me or emulate me. Even if you want to emulate me, that's awesome. And I would love to help you to get the gear that I have, but go out to have fun that you want to have. And that's the biggest thing in bass fishing for me that has helped me to simplify myself, is that I go out to have fun, period. I mean, Bailey, you know this. Like, you would ask me this week, like, what do you want to do? We can do this, we can do that. I was like, I just want to go have fun. Like, you just take me to where they're bites. I want to catch fish. That's what I want to do. So have
everywhere
fun.
but Buffalo, right?
Everywhere but Buffalo, the city. Buffalo is, God bless that place. You got chicken wings, right? That's about it. Chicken wings, the Bills, and Hunt Foundation. That's the only 3 things Buffalo ever did right. I am a big Bills fan. I do have to say that. As sucky as Buffalo is as a city, I do like the Bills. But anyway, there's many people hate me for that.
Hey, bet.
It's the traffic. It's just the traffic. And like the overall just vibe is so fast paced. It drives me crazy. I'm such like, dude, we don't move fast down here. Like, and yeah, but anyway. So have fun.
Careful.
We're a little bit slow. Listen, no, I'm just kidding. I got that. What do I got?
The friggin' frog's gay.
There it is. All right. So did you hear that? Did it come through?
Yeah.
But anyway, so the first thing I would say is have fun. The second thing I'd say is, like, when you walk into a tackle store, understand that bass is a really simple creature. You need something to fish on the top, something to fish in the middle of the column, something to fish on the bottom. Period.
Yep.
You got those 3 things, you're going to do really well to catch bass about dang near anywhere that you're going to go. Now, there are certain areas of the country that have hyperly specific techniques that do really, really well. Here in Tennessee, in the winter, cranking a small, medium diving crankbait on bluff walls. Okay, that's like a thing that we do here, and it's
Mhm.
very specific. And so I'll talk a lot about it because I catch a lot of fish on it. But the understanding that you can go fish a jig in that same exact area and probably catch fish means that if you have something that goes on the top, the middle of the column, and the bottom of the column, fish. And this is very, very evident in the fact that when you look at my buddy, Mr. John Dalton, Creek Fishing Adventures, no joke. I don't think that man owns anything other than a War Eagle spinnerbait and a Yum Dinger and a Cull Shad or a Mag Draft or whatever version of a harness swim bait that he's fishing at any given point. And that's a new thing. Like those are new. Like I got him fishing those. But like that dude will go, and it has gone everywhere that you could imagine in this country outside of, I think, the West Coast. He's never been out there. From Oklahoma, Tennessee, Florida, Kentucky, he's gone up north to Michigan. He's been to New York, Pennsylvania. That dude takes a War Eagle spinnerbait and a creamsicle yum dinger, and he catches fish everywhere that he goes. And not only
Mhm.
does he catch fish, but he competes. Like he's won several tournaments around us throwing a War Eagle spinnerbait and a creamsicle. And so he's got something he fishes on the bottom, and he's got something he fishes mid column, and then he started mixing in like buzz baits and ploppers and other things like that, just because he just wanted to add something new to his arsenal. Guess what? Still doing really well and still fishing. You look at a guy like Drew Gregory, look at a guy like John Cox, look at a guy like myself. Like we're it's rudimentary, and so just understanding that if you've got something to cover those three layers of the column, that you're going to catch a fish is also going to help you to have fun and to catch a bunch of fish.
Mhm.
And I think the third thing would just be don't get overwhelmed by like the body of water. You know what I mean? One thing that I see people do a lot is whether it's boat, bank, or kayak, it doesn't matter, is just like look at something and they try to put the whole puzzle together at one time. It's like they try to take every piece and in one fell swoop smack it against the table and put the whole puzzle together. Look at areas of the lake, and what I like to do is I break everything down into like sections or like a pie or percentages, and where it's like, okay, I'm going to fish this area and figure this out really, really well, and then we're going to worry about trying to do this other thing at a later date, and then another part at a later date, and another part at a later date. And what that's helped me to do is really understand bodies of water, not only here, but all across the country, where that I can now look at a body of water and go, well, it's May and I'm in New York. And so the shallower parts of the lake with more sunlight are probably going to have warmer water, and those fish are probably going to pull up first, where the deeper parts are probably going to be colder. And the east facing banks are going to be cooler than the west facing, or the west facing banks will be cooler than the east facing banks because they're not going to get as much sun. And I only learned that from years and years of cumulative knowledge. I think way too many people get on the internet and they try to like suck all the knowledge in at once, when in reality, our brain, I know this from teaching, from education, our brain can only take in so much information at one time before it has to try to apply that information, or it'll
Mhm.
just delete that information. Like you've forgot more than you've ever known, just because your brain doesn't have the capacity to remember it all.
Mhm.
Um, if you can hear that, that is rain. Lord have mercy. It is like, it looks like that scene from Forrest Gump when he's like, it's raining sideways, it's raining up. That's what it looks like outside right now. Anyway, I can't
Oh,
see the
jeez.
tree in my backyard through the through the window.
Can't
Rabbit hole.
hear it though, but you're good there.
Okay, sorry. But like I think that like when you go on the internet and you try to inundate with all that information, like understand that, like learn something on the internet, go to a bass fishing tips video and go, skipping a jig that works right now. I'm going to go try to skip a jig and learn that technique and learn some different things about it. And that's going to be my whole trip for that day. And obviously, bring the other things that you have confidence in or you know that they're biting and fish those, but also try to learn to skip a jig. And then the next time you go out, pick something else to learn.
Mhm.
And I think that that's super important in not getting overwhelmed and keeping it simplistic. And that helps you to build, then too, that helps you to build your toolbox.
Yeah.
Because a toolbox is only as complicated as the person that's using it. Like
Good
my
point.
toolkit's a lot more complicated than Bailey's toolkit on like a to a tool level, but I know everything in my toolbox and the job that it does.
Right.
Like actual tools. You get what I'm saying? Like we whipped them
Yeah.
out the other day trying to get your shit undone on your trailer. And
Yep.
it's like I know everything that's in that bag and I know all the things that it does and everything that's in my box and I know what it does, but I only know that because I spent the time to learn all that. Don't go buy the entire toolkit and then get pissed off when you don't know what every tool does. You've got to learn what all the tools do. That's all fishing is. It's all tools
Yeah.
to fucking get a dumb little green or brown fish to try to bite something. And so like just take it one step at a time. Understand that like patience really is a virtue, not only in all of life, but in fishing as well.
Yeah. Well, and that's a good point you mentioned, especially like nowadays with the whole conversation of the younger generation and angling, and that's not something we're going to get into, but the reason the learning curves accelerated so much is because there's so much more information at your fingertips online. And one thing you brought up, Alex, and I think right now for somebody that is getting into it, that's hungry to learn, they want to learn all of it as fast as possible, like you mentioned. And like you said, they're going to get bits and pieces. They're not going to get the full comprehension because they haven't then taken that information and taken the time it takes to go in the water to try to learn it. So, like you mentioned, do it one by one. Like grab a simple 1, 2, 3 punch of a bait or technique, like Alex mentioned, top of the column, middle of the column, bottom of the column, and simply go to your local body of water and try to keep asking the question why when you're going through those things, and that will likely help, at least from the understanding. Like you're better off keeping the bait stuff simple and trying to understand more about the fish and your fisheries, and that'll be able to help unlock new doors for you. But you'll understand everything from a broader sense. And I feel like, and this is preaching to your realm of things, because it's like, I mean, all you really need is a drop shot for the most part on Lake Erie. It's more of understanding the bass and the fish and how the forage and the bass cohabitate and the habitats the bass reside during the seasons. And it's, I don't know, on your approach of keeping things simple in a realm that can be very overwhelming as well with the Great Lakes. What is your thought process on all that for folks that are maybe in the smallmouth or Great Lakes side of country?
Well, first is understanding where the fish live. So there's nothing better than real time experience in not just going out fishing with people and being taken to fish, but learning where they sit, where they set up, why they're set up, what the wind does to them. And then after that, the baits are secondary. You can pull up on a pile of fish and throw 10 different baits at them. And guess what? All 10 of them will probably get bit by one of those fish if it's presented properly.
I literally said in Bass Fishing Tips yesterday, the wrong bait in the right place will get bit every single time. This is the
100%.
absolute truth. Absolute truth.
So, like for
Yeah.
my guide trip tomorrow, I haven't been on Erie because obviously my boat has been broken and I just got it back over the weekend. I have 7 spinning rods rigged up at this moment. I have 2 tubes, 2 Ned rigs, 2 swim baits, and a jig head minnow, because that's what I'll throw around while my clients are fishing the other things. Because I know right now it's pre-spawn, most of them. They're on the bottom, so I know where they should be. It's just finding out once I get out there where exactly they are, positioning the boat based on the wind because of real-time experience I've had on that body of water, and understanding contours, what type of bottom structure they're looking for. And I can almost bet we'll catch a fish on every technique we throw at them tomorrow in the next few days.
And
So,
shoot, the crazy thing from that matter, Andy, is you can even simplify it even more from there. I mean, really, you mentioned tube, Ned, swim bait, and a jig head minnow. All you need is a tube, and if you
yeah.
really want to go crazy, bring the swim bait with you, because like really you only need one of those, right? I mean, they're very simplistic, all 4 of them in nature, but like if for folks that are like looking at, they're like, oh, I only know how to fish a Ned. Like you can get. I mean, a Ned rig's a great bait to catch around the freaking country. It doesn't matter
You
where,
could
but
throw a tube the same way you fish a Ned rig.
exactly.
You could drag a swim bait the same way you fish a Ned rig in a tube, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you could literally dead stick a swim bait and a smallmouth will eat it if it's looking at it and it moves slightly because that river current or lake current or wind current, you're going to catch fish on it if you're fishing it like a Ned
Yeah.
rig. So
And
yeah,
that this applies
food
to
is
around the country, because I know there's been a few folks in the comments that are like, "Oh, remember, you're not just we're not talking about just smallmouth. That's just not smallmouth around the whole country." And there's some people apparently forgot we did whole Texas, Florida swings, everything. But either so like for the Southeast and where you're at in Central, Alex, for you, I guess personally, a top three things that you can take with you to keep things simple and catch bass technique wise. What is Alex Rudd picking up?
We talking about lakes or are we talking about creeks and rivers?
Let's do two different ones. Let's just do because they do. I think
Rivers. I'll say this before we get into that, and we'll talk about creeks and rivers. Creeks and rivers throughout the country, everywhere that I have been. Again, Oklahoma, Florida, New York, Michigan. Like I've put in a river and fished it. They all fish the same.
yeah.
You can have the same damn 5 things and catch them everywhere that you go and catch big ones. Like, period. It doesn't stop. Like, it's just is what it is.
Current fish
Yeah.
are a different breed. They will eat as long as it's close.
Current
Angles, which is what Alex and I were preaching on last week.
current negates everything. It negates air temperature. It negates water clarity. It negates everything. The current is the king in current situations. We'll talk about that in a minute. From a lake standpoint, here in the Southeast, and this is really anywhere that I go, I want something that I can flip and skip, something like a jig or a flipping setup, like just like a peg Texas
Texas
rig with
rig,
a
yeah.
preacher bait on it, something like that. I want a wacky rig, and then I can turn that into a Nico rig if I need to by putting a little bit of weight in it. So something finessey like that, something in that realm. Essentially, a 7-foot medium spinning rod that I can throw everything that you would throw on a 7-foot medium spinning rod.
Yeah.
It was funny. I had this Xenon rod last year, and unfortunately, I lost it in a tragic boating accident. It wasn't a tragic boating accident; it just fell out of my kayak. But I had this one 7-foot Xenon rod that I literally took in every single tournament that I fished last year, all across the country, and took it everywhere with me, and used that rod with 10-pound braid to a 10-pound leader, and all I did was change the hook on it and change the bait. Like I took it everywhere. So that, and then something moving, and moving can be variable depending on the time of the year. Like if we're talking about like summer, I want to fish something on top or something right subsurface. And what I mean by that is like, there's certain times of the year I want to fish a whopper plopper, but then like, when the sun gets up, I want to tie on a call shad or a spinnerbait. And then if something like, a different time of the year, it may be too cold and I want everything to just be something moving, whether it be a crankbait or a spinnerbait or a bladed jig or anything like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
But like that's really it. Like just something that I can beat the bank with. A lot of stuff. It's honestly just beating the bank for me. Like because I'm just not an offshore fisherman. I can
Yeah.
fish offshore, but I don't enjoy it. So I want to go beat the bank. And so I need 3 things that I can beat the bank with. And I feel like I can beat the bank with something moving, something finesse, and something like a jig or flipping. I mean, do flipping and pitching and skipping things. I've caught fish doing all times of the year doing that. Like there are fish that just resident fish that live shallow everywhere in the country. And you can look at any pro event, any YouTube video, whatever it is. And I mean, there are dudes that go in the dead of summer in Texas and flip boat docks and catch bass.
Mhm.
There's dudes who do it I've done it in the dead of winter in 40-degree water and gone and flipped boat docks in like gin clear water on Norris Lake and caught big bass. So like that, I think that's like my number one is just something that I can flip pitch and just get in and out of cover with. Because bass, regardless, want to be near cover. There's
Yeah.
always going to be bass near cover, and probably big bass too if you're willing to go fish for them.
And let's be real, like the lakes versus the river/creeks. If we really wanted to keep things super simple, you could have the same bait arsenal for both.
Pretty
If
much.
you want.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
The flipping, I've noticed with like river fishing, specific rivers, the flipping can be hard. Like flipping and pitching can be hard. Just depends on the current level. You know what I mean? Like, if you're talking about like the Tennessee River, oh, we flip and pitch all the time with current, but it's not like a ripping current. It's current that's moving, but it's not like all it does is really position fish. Whereas like when I'm fishing a creek with John and a paddle kayak, like there's areas that fish live in that we're moving and grooving. And so you just need to be throwing something moving and grooving because all you're trying to do, kind of what Andy said, is just get a bait in there to them. And if you can get it to them, they'll smoke it. And the only thing that I've really dialed in with that I've noticed is that a lot of the times there's multiple fish in any given area. Apparently, really like in a current seam or an eddy or where the current's moving. I've started throwing a lot bigger baits. Like coal shad is my go-to creek and river fishing bait now, just because it tends to get that bigger than average fish to eat. It's just like when you're skipping docks. You skip a wacky rig, you'll catch the 1 pounder before you catch the 5 pounder. I don't understand why. I don't know if it's a water displacement thing or if it's just a profile thing or what it is. But if you skip a jig under there, oftentimes a 5 pounder will smoke the jig. And it's like the 1 pounder seems as if though like it doesn't want it. Whereas you throw a wacky rig in there, it's the exact opposite. Well, it's the same with rivers. As it tends to be that the bigger baits get the bigger bites. And so it's funny how my river arsenal has like changed. Or I used to take rivers and creeks. I used to take like these little small dainty lures because I thought, oh, they're just little fish that eat little baits. And it's like, no, 120 size chopo, double skirted spinner bait with the biggest blade you can get on it, coal shad. Like those are the things that get the big ones to eat, which is really interesting.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
you're making the fish react to something they're not used to seeing as well, because all the bait fish in those rivers are probably tiny little minnows or whatever it is, right? Like you throw something that's big by it, all of a sudden that carnivore killer instinct kicks in on those big ones. Like, yep, I need to have that because if I eat that, I don't need to go chase 1,000 of those little minnows around to get full.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And I
See a
wonder,
coal shad, and they're just like, "You looking at me?"
belly. And I wonder sometimes too in some of these creeks that I fish, if it's that, and if it's also that those bigger than average bass are focusing on big food. Like, that's what's really interesting about these creeks is like, dude. I mean, there's a couple creeks that me and John have found some very special things. But I think those very special things are they can be replicated throughout the country. You just got to go spend a lot of time in creeks and rivers to find the right ones. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Gary Gregory has proven that. You know what I mean? Um, but like there's some of these creeks that we fish that are 15 yards wide at the widest and 5 foot deep at the deepest. And they have 20 and 21 and 22-inch, spotted bass and smallmouth in them that are 4 to 6 pounds. Spotted bass, I think there's bigger ones out there. I know there's bigger ones out there. But what I've noticed is like if you really look at all the forage that's in there, it's like what Andy said, it's like a lot of little glass minnows, little thread fins, like little shad. But then there's also things like those red horses, and there's like juvenile red horses, and there's trout, like
oh, those
juvenile
smoke those, yeah.
and then there's perch, and then there's all of this and then other small bass. I caught a spotted bass the other day, 20 inches long. It spit up a baby bass, and it's like one of
Dang.
those things. Like I think that there's a certain size class that a fish gets to in a body of water like that. That's like they go to when they eat, they're eating something like they're going to eat something like you said, it's worth their time. Now, it's not to say that they won't eat anything else, but like some of the biggest spotted bass I've caught too, giant crawdads. Like, bro, you catch the little ones, they got little crawdads, little snell darters, like, spit them up, or we'll kill them, a few of them sometimes just cause. And like, we'll do a little necropsy on them and like pull out the food. And it's like little snails and snell darters
Hmm.
and stuff like that. Then the big ones, like the 5 pounders, will have like a freaking lobster in the back of their throat, like the biggest, baddest crawdad in the lake or the river. It's like I want to screw with that guy, and that's what they eat. Like
Yeah.
I have one video in particular that I can think of. I caught as an 18 3/4 inch spot, and bro, it had one of the biggest crawdads in the back of its throat that I've ever seen in my life. Like its claws were literally as big as my thumb, if not bigger.
He was about to
And
mess you up. That was a lobster, freshwater
dude, bro,
lobster at that point.
it was like somebody went to the Red Lobster and tossed that thing in the river. And I called him on a 7-inch Nessie. So this dude had not even got this meal down yet, and he tried to smoke a 7-inch Nessie. Those
Wow.
fish are they're different. That's a different breed. But again, it's simple. Throw something big at them, and they'll come undone for it. I
You know,
mean,
in my mind, I don't know why it went to this, but it was like the smaller fish. They look at it and they see Mr. Krabs, but then the bigger ones they see that lifeguard lobster from SpongeBob, and that's what they're.
yeah, yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh, that's funny.
It's
That's
good.
one of my favorite SpongeBob episodes when he starts when they put on the muscle suits and they're
Yeah,
doing I love that. Yeah.
marshmallows on the end of the stick.
Yeah.
Or the one where they're swimming in the ocean and it's like, Patrick, stand up.
Yes.
He
Yes.
thinks he drowned.
My favorite thing from SpongeBob period is the guy that every time something happens, he's like, "My leg!" And I say that all the time. I'll just be walking around the house and just be like, "My leg!" One of these days, something's actually going to happen to my leg, and Bethany thinks I'm just going to be messing. She's going to be like, "Shut up!" I'm actually going to be in the backyard, like, "Oh God, no, really, my leg!"
That was you on that charter boat when you broke your leg.
Bro, yeah, that was it. That was SpongeBob's revenge that day.
My leg.
Uh,
That's good. There you go, folks. Your episode dose of SpongeBob.
yeah.
But so keeping things simple. I think that's what a lot of folks, especially nowadays, and when we're talking about technology races, I think more folks gravitate towards getting back to just fishing simple, especially when things can just be overwhelming, regardless of what we're talking about, either tech or the bait. You know, we're seeing all these dice baits and crazy minnow baits, things like that. It can be a lot of folks just want to get a jig and a spinner bait and go to work. You know what I
let's
mean?
be
It's
honest though, like that's a simple form of fishing too.
for sure.
I mean, like you look at these dudes, and it's like as much as we want to, I don't give it. I really don't. I am so agnostic on the whole forward facing sonar thing. It's not even funny. But it's like I get that it's boring. It is boring. I do agree with that. But so is fishing. Period. But like if you really look at like what those dudes are doing, it's a jig head
Well,
minnow.
put the asterisk watching fishing. Don't because you said fishing is boring. Watching fishing is boring.
Watching
Well,
fishing.
here because we love fishing. Fishing's fun, but watching
fishing is really fun, but watching fishing is extremely boring.
Yeah, I didn't want the internet trolls to come after you for saying fishing is boring.
Come after me. Listen, at this point, I've been caught everything under the
It's just
sun.
creating engagement. It's all good.
Listen, it topped out.
Yeah.
Okay, it topped out with death threats. After death threats, there's nothing that can get me on the internet. Like I've seen it all. But no, when you look at the forward facing sonar thing, I mean, realistically, that is a simple form of fishing. And
Yeah.
what are those people doing? I think a lot of those dudes are doing what they enjoy. They're doing what they find joy in and having fun. I mean, dude, it makes you have fun. I watched you catch a 6-pounder the other day on a jig head minnow. You had a lot of fun doing it, and
I had a hell of a time.
you enjoyed it. And so I think really the simplicity of fishing is letting you just have fun. I think that's what we've lost. I don't think we've lost anything with forward facing sonar. I don't think we've lost anything with a bunch of different lures. I don't think we've lost anything with boats or kayaks or overbuilding kayaks or underbuilding kayaks or walking on the bank or whatever it is. We have simply lost the fact that fishing is supposed to be fun. That's the simplicity of fishing is
What's the thing that I mean, it's a great point because it's one thing that drives me nuts is this whether you want to call it a sport or not, the act of fishing is exactly what you want to make of it. If you want it to be this crazy, black hole of going down in different techniques, things like that, it can be that if you want to make it that. You can get all caught up and be negative about it if you want, but it's only going to be that if you allow it to be that. It can be the simple, I'm going to go have fun and throw what I want type of day. You don't have to let anything affect you. You don't have to go fish tournaments. I feel like there's, especially right now, this is one thing, especially I want to drive home going forward on this channel as well. I know you've been doing a great job of that, Alex, is we get these new people into fishing, especially bass fishing, and they feel like they have to have some sort of need. Like, I have to fish tournaments to become part of this community of fishermen.
Or I have to have a $1,500 setup.
Yeah, you don't need anything beyond an ugly stick and a freaking wacky rig to go have a hell of a time all year round, regardless of part of the country. You don't need to go fish no damn bass tournament.
I'm going to preface everything that I'm about to say that these are the views of Alex Rudd and Alex Rudd Fishing alone, and they don't reflect anything that the Serious Angler Podcast believes.
Oh boy, here we
Very
go.
legal. Here we go.
Here we go. Okay,
cue the fireworks.
Cue the fireworks. Cue the shitstorm, the dumpster fire. I think one thing that, yes, people think that. And the reason that they think that is because we are inundating new anglers from the very beginning that tournament fishing is the only form of bass fishing. That's the problem. We are bringing up an entire generation of children, kids, and young adults to believe that tournament fishing is the only form of bass fishing. And the reason that I say that is because you have middle school tournaments, high school tournaments, college level tournaments, and through that entire process, the entire process is formulated to drive a business model that funnels middle school, high school, and college athletes into open tournaments like the Bassmaster Open with the hope of big stage, big dreams. When in reality, if Bass was truthful and MLF, I don't know how they do it because I just don't keep up. I've picked Bass as my whipping post. It's easier to keep up with than all the crap that MLF does. I got too many rules changes and all that crap. But like if you look at that, like that is the perfect funnel for them to drive home their business model, and their business model is to make money. We're creating tournament anglers, not fishermen. That's dangerous to me. That's very, very dangerous. And we've talked about this, Bailey. And because I think it's so dangerous, because when you create a tournament angler and not just an angler, a fisherman, then you create somebody that is in the sport not because they love fishing, but because they love winning and money.
Yep.
It's Mr. Krabs and money. Like that's what they want. Like that's what they're looking for. Money. And it's like, but in like, I see this. And the reason that I've experienced this firsthand is because there's a boy named Colton. Colton's in middle school. He's his 8th grade year in middle school. He's on the middle school fishing team at a local school. And his dad, he loves to fish with me. And so I go fishing in these tournaments with Colton because Colton enjoys it. And you know, it's one of those things that I don't like the organization and the organization of these tournaments, but he truly loves fishing. Like Colton, if I called Colton tomorrow and I said, Colton, we're going fishing, there wouldn't have to be a tournament attached to go fishing. It's just those are the chances that me and Colton gets to go fish together a lot because we can like put a date on a schedule to go do that. But Colton loves fishing. But there are other kids in the organization that fish against Colton. They don't like fishing. They like tournaments. And
yeah, that's the one thing that's hard to get by. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Just want to add in there. That's the one thing I'll never comprehend is like if you take tournament fishing away from me,
I'm still
I do love it. Don't get me wrong. I love the tournament stuff, but I'm okay. Like I'm gonna go fun fishing. You know, and Andy, I think the same thing for you. It's like, okay, I'm a guide. Like either way, you take that away. You love fishing because we started fishing for the love of.
Oh, you can't
fishing.
be a guide and not love fishing.
Well, there's that.
And you
yeah.
can. I know a lot of guides, I'm not going to mention their names, that absolutely hate fishing now, but they do it because that's how they get paid, right? Like,
And see, dude, that's where we have failed fishing.
yeah.
That's where we as a group of anglers, and I say this, and I keep saying this, a lot of people will view this as hate of pro fishing or hate of tournaments. No, it's the hate of the organization that created a money-making conglomerate that only focuses on revenue, but they virtue signal as conservation and the future of the sport. Okay, that's what bothers me. Okay, well, conservation, that's a whole nother podcast for a whole nother day of the week because y'all know I can go.
We'll have to wait for Barden on that because he
Yeah,
shares those exact same views.
Is it fair to separate tournament fishing from recreational fishing? Because
Absolutely.
technically, recreational fishing is leisure, right? Tournament
100%.
fishing is high octane sport, adrenaline
Mhm.
pumping. I think that's part of the issue of the overall thing is the fact that a lot of people have a hard time separating the two, and they think both are conjoined, right? When they truly
They're not,
are
and
not.
they aren't at all.
Yeah.
They're not at all. And that's the problem but the problem is the most vocal people are the tournament anglers.
100%.
And there's a lot of those. And I'm not saying everybody, Bailey, we've talked about this before. Like, I don't have a problem with pros. There are a lot of pros that are very good people who love fishing. But there are also a lot of pros who aren't very good people who view fish as money and are addicted to tournaments. That if you took the tournament away, that they would quit fishing.
Well, I don't even know if it's a tournament they're addicted to. They're addicted to the paycheck.
Or it's what
They're
they have to do.
gamblers.
They're gambling. It's addiction, bro. It's gambling addiction. Sorry, that's what it is. It's like hitting the crack pipe, bro. But like I think that's like my biggest issue is just it scares the piss. There's two things that scare the piss out of me in fishing right now. Number one is invasive species. That's the number one. Number two is that we are not worried about the future of the sport. We're worried about the future of the revenue.
Yep. Where's the money at?
Where's the money at? Where's the money at? Where's the money going? How can we make more? How do we make more? How does more? And all the more does is hurt the conservation side of it, the fisheries side of it, like all of that more and more. Because if you look back at the history of black bass as a whole, there was a time in the country that we almost fished black bass to extinction. A lot of people don't realize that. Look it up.
Yeah.
Google it. Meat Eater did a fantastic article about it. We almost fished black bass to extinction. You want to know why we almost fished black bass to extinction?
Probably tasted good when the water was cold.
Or money. It was money. It was revenues. It was commercial fishing.
Oh, commercial. Okay.
It's commercial fishing. We almost fished it to extinction because of revenue. Bro, we're heading down the same exact path, and all we do is say that we're growing the sport. And we're not.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we're going to fish black bass to extinction. I don't think we're going to do that. But it's that same. You see the danger in that. You see the danger in the mindset. In that tying this back to the podcast that we're talking about here, because I've gone on a little bit of a soapbox. I know I have. To tie it all back in, the problem is that we've lost the simplicity of fishing. We've lost the love for what it is. Dude, there's nothing more that I love than to get onto a river and that first paddle stroke onto a creek or a river, and you take a deep breath on a fall day, and it's clear, cool air, and the water's clear, and there's an eagle flying from tree to tree as you chase it down the river because you're pissing it off that you're going down the river, and you're throwing a buzzbait and you're catching bass. I love that. That's what I love. That's what gets me outside. Like, and I tell people all the time, like, this right there, that's what I love. That's my love of fishing. It has nothing to do with revenue. It has nothing to do with a tournament or an accolade or an achievement or anything like that. It has everything to do with the love of the outdoors and the love of the activity of fishing, which all ties back into my love of conservation and my love of leaving it better than I found it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the simplicity of fishing. That's what we've got to get back to. And so, like, all of these new people coming into fishing, I would implore, it's encouraged for people that need a dictionary. I would encourage you, like, beyond belief, I would encourage you to not let all the hate on the internet and all the comments on the internet and everybody in the YouTube comment section and everybody. Are we going to put this on YouTube?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Let me text my wife back then real quick. Turn my camera off because obviously we're not putting my baby on the internet, but Bethany, I have to hold the baby for a second. But like, I would like implore and encourage everybody to just go out and avoid all of that. Collect the information that you need to collect, educate yourself, and then just go fishing. And if doing a tournament is, come here, Bobby. What?
Bro, I got
Lord have mercy. That's going on a podcast on YouTube.
Care.
Okay. Hey, man. All right. So, but yeah, so that's what I would encourage everybody to do. And I mean, that's what I'm going to do with this little one right here is I'm going to encourage the love of the outdoors, the love of fishing, the love of conservation, not the love of some tournament organization. And that's what's sad is that the only opportunities right now that some kids have is to tournament fish. And that's sad within itself because, like, you know, these high school and middle school and college organizations, they're like fishing clubs that have turned into tournament clubs. And the reason that they've turned into tournament clubs is because it's the only opportunity that they have to go out and do what they want to do as a hobby and do for fun. And then it transforms into something that I never think it was supposed to be in the first place, which is just fishing.
Yeah.
Like, that's my number one piece of advice for everybody is just like, do what you enjoy and love. Don't let somebody on the internet sway you to think that you've got to go have a bunch of trophies like Bailey has behind him because he's just a pompous asshole. I'm just kidding. I love Bailey.
No, you're right.
No,
It's true.
Bailey's really good at tournament fishing. But like, don't think that that you have to have the awards and the checks and all those things to be and to enjoy angling.
Oh, it doesn't mean shit, dude. I mean, we have friends that Andy does, Alex, you and I know folks like Caleb that are some of the freaking most talented, fishing knowledgeable people that would probably wax the floor with some of these guys do. It doesn't mean anything besides the same thing you mentioned earlier. It's the you're chasing a virtue that basically is one of the deals that might be causing all this drama nowadays, where it's like you don't need tournament fishing to go and have a great time and make. You don't need tournament fishing to go make a career out of fishing these days.
No, you don't.
There's so many different avenues. It's fishing at its roots are memories, getting off the damn couch and spending time where we're supposed to be spending it. And it's outside.
Yep.
But that comes back to whether tournament or not. We also need to take care of our fisheries because you can't do shit if we don't have our fisheries. We can't just go build new lakes. Like you can go build a new basketball court. It doesn't work the same way. But that's a whole other podcast, like you mentioned earlier. But the point of the show is exactly what Alex just stated, which is, whether you've been fishing for 10 years, this is your first year fishing. Fishing is exactly what you make of it. You can go grab one single jig, one single rod, and go have a hell of a day at your local fishery. It doesn't need to be, you need to bring 1,400 rods that are all $500 or more. It could be exactly what you want to make of it, and don't let anybody else make you think otherwise.
100%.
Yeah.
And go book a trip with Andy because you'll go have fun with him.
You'll have a riot with Andy. That's for damn sure.
Go watch an Alex Red fishing video because you'll enjoy him. And whatever's Bailey's doing, avoid that at all costs.
Yeah, just if you see me, just push me in the lake.
Run him over.
But if you do book a trip with Andy, go through the Serious Angler Show. Like, send us a DM and let us know when you're coming up. If you booked through the show with Andy, and I'll treat you guys to wings.
Oh, you don't
we'll
have
put
to
that
do
out
that.
there too.
The duffs or barbells?
Oh,
Whatever's open.
yeah, wherever we can put my boat in the parking lot.
That's
That's what we chose the other day based on where we could get the kayaks, 2 trucks and kayaks into the parking lot.
I mean, there's one sneaky wing joint in Buffalo that I can't even remember the name of it right now.
Elmo's.
Not Elmo's. It's in the city. I've taken Destin and Jeff there a couple times. As soon as it comes to me, I will tell you.
Either way.
But it's just as good as Barbell. It might be better than Duff's. If I always forget about it, yeah.
All right. Well, there you are. But Andy, you got anything else for Alex before? I can't wait to edit this and find the most embarrassing picture of Alex I can find to make his stead for his no camera for the rest of the show.
Oh, please.
But
please.
I can't wait.
I just enjoy Alex's tirades.
Oh, no, I'm actually going to put the Lorax out here.
There you go.
I'm just glad somebody enjoys my tirades. Like, I
do. They're needed. They're needed. Here's the thing. Like you were somebody, there might be somebody that's sitting here listening to it. It's all, they might have clicked out off already, but if you haven't and you're sitting here thinking negatively about what any 3 of us have said on this show, try to think of stuff like outside of your own point of view. And remember that a lot of this stuff, there's certain parts of the country are affected by certain issues of fishing. And just remember that what we're striving for with talking about in this show is for the good of everyone. We're not saying we want to get rid of tournament fishing, by no means of that. It's more of there needs to be a better medium and a better avenue for new anglers for the preservation of the future of fishing, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, and that's it, dude. I mean, like, and that's why I keep saying, like, I think a lot of people look at it and they say, well, it's just, it's jealousy or it's hate or it's something for tournament fishing. And it's not. It's just that I said this before and I'll say it again. As revolutionary as Ray Scott was for the sport of fishing,
and he's back.
And I'm back. As revolutionary as Ray Scott was for the sport of fishing, and for everything that he did for the sport of fishing good, now there needs to be somebody that steps up and they're as revolutionary as Ray Scott was for fishing then, and we need to do it again now. And because the problem is the ideas that Ray Scott put in place are now dated. They're wrong now. And it's okay to say that. Just
Yeah.
like it was okay when Theodore Roosevelt stopped and said, we need to create wild lands and wild waters that are preserves and places that are places that we can preserve this. And when I say this, North America and the North American model of conservation, it takes somebody going, whoa, let's pump the brakes for a second and let's just look at this. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying burn it to the ground. If it takes burning it to the ground and rebuilding, and that's what we need to do. But I really think that where we're at right now, if we put the brakes on now and we revolutionize fishing and tournament fishing and the sport of fishing, now we can stop the problems that are knocking on the door, because the Grim
Yeah.
Reaper's knocking at the door. And the thing is we've got the handle in our hand and we've got it turned. We've just not pulled the door open yet. But if we keep going down this path, I really believe we're going to let the Grim Reaper in. And when that happens, dude, that's Pandora's box. I don't know where we go from that. I don't even know what that looks like. And so that's exactly it. There's always people that are like, Alex a dick. He's doesn't know what he's talking about. That's fine. You can say that. These aren't not thoughts that I just like came up with on a whim. These are things from literally hundreds of hours of conversation with people a hell of a lot smarter than I am. People working in the conservation space, people who are biologists, people who are, their job is to get up every morning and go, how do I make bass fishing better? And how do I keep all of this from burning to the ground? And we're going to have to stop and we're going to have to revolutionize where we're at. Because
Yeah.
we've not for 70 years. I mean, MLF was the first step in the tournament side of things of trying something new. And oh my God, you would have thought that they were sacrificing orphans over there when they went to every fish counts or a sonar this or whatever limit there and blah, 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 blah. I hate it. This sucks. Da, 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 da. It's like, no, you don't hate it. And this doesn't suck. You're just used to something and you don't like anything new.
Yeah.
Like, just,
Well, there's so much of that too. Like on the flip, like listen to the people that like. Feel free to tell the three of us to screw off and question it. I mean, you have every right to question what we say, but like, don't listen to some of these YouTube channels and these people, especially in comment sections, that have zero credentials to talk about this stuff. I can't believe there's some of the with the real biology, with stuff we've done with Barden and shows that you've done with legitimate, credentialed, years and years and years of experienced fisheries biologists, that people still like question what they're saying. Like people talking about how you have to remove, well, when Barden talks about removing smaller fish to create larger fish on average in a fishery. That is common knowledge. That is science. And people question it like, oh, that's impossible. You shouldn't keep fish.
because
I don't understand the questioning of biologists, but like,
because of an inundation of the idea by Ray Scott back in the day and the organization that Ray Scott built, that keeping and killing fish is wrong. And so we need to keep and release every fish. So catch and release is the only way to preserve the conservation of our fisheries into the future. That's a 70-year-old idea that's outdated and was at that time as wrong as it is now.
But weren't they
Yeah.
back then when Ray Scott first started doing 10 fish limits and putting them in plastic bags and on stringers and killing them?
Mm-hmm. But it was a bad
Yeah.
PR thing that hurt the revenue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
again, I'm not. It's just we got to look at it like that.
Yeah.
That's just it.
Yeah.
That's the facts of the matter. Quit playing virtue signal games. Nobody cares about inclusion. No, some people do, but at this point in bass fishing, inclusion is our last problem that we have. Conservation via fish stocking and fish trees is the worst thing that we could be doing when there are giant problems that need to be addressed, i.e., creating an entire generation of tournament anglers that don't actually enjoy fishing and only enjoy tournaments. And that then only exacerbates a problem of invasive species because people move fish around in order to win tournaments.
Alabama spots. Stop doing it.
Spots. Stop doing it. Because, bro, I'm telling y'all think I'm joking. Y'all think I'm joking. It's all ha ha he he. It's just speculatory. Those things will end up in one of the Great Lakes if we're not careful.
Mm-hmm.
Well, once they
Some
get in
crazy
one, they
lunatic.
can get into all of them. So
Yep. Yep. And if not a Great Lake, a Finger Lake. And if not a Finger Lake, a glacial lake. If not a glacial lake, then the Susquehanna River. They're already in the New River. They're already in every coastal waterway in the Carolinas and in Georgia. I mean, bro,
Yeah.
it's like I said, we have got the handle on the doorknob and we've got it turned, and we are one movement away from letting the Grim Reaper in the door because we won't stop as a group of people, a group of
Yep.
anglers, because we're so divided. It's exactly what you said, Andy. Recreational fishing, tournament fishing. And I've been saying this. Then we got to stop because I can go off. I've been saying this for years, and people. I think I said this first on your podcast, on this podcast, and was called an idiot by somebody and told that I was being negative. I'll never forget it because you sent me the message and said this guy's like talking shit about you. Okay, I said this, and this is what he didn't like about it. So here we go again, buddy. Here I am to say this again, probably 6 years later, and I'm still right. Tournament fishing is dividing into two islands of people. And right now, it's the haves versus the have-nots, the tournament versus the non-tournament. All we do is bicker and fight with each other. We throw shit at each other and don't work together. And the more that we throw shit and the less that we work together, the more the problem is going to just keep compounding upon itself. And the problem is very nuanced, but it's a problem nonetheless that needs to be solved. We've got a cancer growing right now. And instead of taking chemotherapy and changing our diet and worrying about like trying to battle the cancer, we're just like smoking cigs and drinking beer and not worrying about it and fighting with our neighbor. That's the problem. This isn't politics. Yeah. This is bass fishing.
Yep.
We got to come together at some point. But nobody wants to listen to Alex. And that's fine. Don't listen. I'll still be here. I'll still be here fishing. I'll just have to fish for Alabama spots, I guess. I mean, that's what I'm going to do or whatever it looks like. That's just it.
At least
like
they fight good, right?
Oh, yeah, sure. That's great. Yeah.
Whoop-de-doo.
I like smallmouth. I like Alabama spots in Alabama, or native waterways. But like, yeah, but dude, that's it. I mean, like, you know, and we've gone down a little bit of a rabbit hole here, but I mean, it all really does boil back down to the simplicity of fishing. We've lost it. We've lost our North Star. We need to get back.
Well, there's our PSA. That's what we'll wrap this thing up on. Is fishing is fun. Fishing can be as simple as you want. It can be as complex as you want.
Yep.
But there is it is exactly what you want to make of it. And Mr. Alex Rudd, you make it very simple and you do it very well. And always appreciate your time, my friend.
I appreciate y'all. This is always fun. It's always fun to go down a rabbit hole with y'all. It's going to, only go like 30 minutes, an hour in. I love it.
Yep. Difficult.
Love it. I love it.
Well, appreciate it, buddy. And we'll be talking to you real soon.
All right, buddy. See y'all later.
Well, folks, honestly, I think for an outro, Alex kind of summed it up pretty well.
100%.
And like we talked about in the intro, man. You know, fishing's fun. Just go fishing.
Fishing is fun. Very fun. Even if it's for 20 minutes. Just go.
Even if it's for 20 minutes. It's whatever it might be. Whether it's for the noodle, Barbie rod, or you're going punching or frogging.
Actually noodling.
Whatever. Or you're actually noodling. Yeah, I mean, it's not my cup of tea, but hey, again, like we said, fishing is fun. Whatever form that may be, whatever you enjoy, just go do it.
You don't want to shove your arm in a hole and have something bite your fingers?
No, I was going to make a funny joke, but I don't think it was going to be that funny, so I'm just going to move on from that. But no, I don't think I would. I don't think I would. I think you knew where I was going with that. I'll let the imagination of the folks tuning in go wild on that one. But regardless, if you're outside, you're spending it much better. And so let's stop bickering, being negative. Fishing is fun. Let's simplify things. Just go freaking fishing. With that, Andy, let's tune it out here. Folks, appreciate the hell out of all of y'all. And we'll see you.
See you next time.
Andy nailed it. See y'all.